everyone. Welcome to Horror Movie Lovers. I'm your host tonight, Michael McGlynn, and with me is my fuzzy, furry, cute, and cuddly Jonathan Moody.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, I'm very furry these days, and I like it. I'm okay with it.
Honestly, given the topic of the movie tonight, I actually think you are doing great.
I think, yeah, somebody said, I think when I first started doing it, they're like, "Are you trying to be a werewolf now?" And I was like, I mean, I wouldn't mind, you know.
It looks
Um,
good.
I know, I'm a wolf man. Ah, growl. So what are we talking about here?
Today, we are going to be going over the Anthony Hopkins and Benito del Toro, the Wolfman. Uh,
Yes, a
This is
wolf man.
actually kind of like a good little fun one, I think, tonight because I'm a die-hard fan of the old 1941 Lon Chaney Jr. Wolfman.
Me
Lon Chaney
too.
Jr. is very near and dear to me. And believe it or not, you would think being a die-hard Wolfman fan, I would have seen this movie already. I did not. I watched it with my wife last night, and a quick note, her and I absolutely loved it.
Good. I was pleasantly surprised because okay, so I think I told you when I messaged you yesterday, I was actually in the either finishing up or in the middle of watching the new Wolfman, the Blumhouse one,
Mm.
and I wasn't sure which one we had said, that we were going to review, right? So I said, which Wolfman? Is it the new one, 2010, or the original, or something like that? And you said 2000. Let's do the Benicio del Toro one. And I was like, oh, okay. I hadn't seen it yet either, and so you and I are the reason it bombed, and there was no Wolfman 2, or whatever, and they had to try another way to bring back the original monsters. Remember? Like that's what they were trying to do. At one point there's Dracula Untold, and then this, and then these just didn't do well. And then they tried the Dark Universe with the Mummy and overspent way too much money on that movie, and that bombed. And so they're like, let's scale it back and do like the Invisible Man, the Wolf Man, but not connect them, right?
Mm.
And so it's just like they don't know what they're doing with the monster movies, it feels like, but
Nonsense, like probably back in the 1940s. Sadly, funny enough, like I actually made it a funny shock trivia question when our film company was actually doing a little fundraiser. We did a shock trivia, and I actually decided to buy a shock trivia question, and I actually did one over that one too. It was what was there was actually a very first ever connected monster universe between two of the Universal monster characters that had crossed over. All involving Lon Chaney Jr. Which one was it?
was it a House of Frankenstein?
That's one.
And I want to say House of Frankenstein, and I know there was like a ghost of something, right? So
Well, actually,
ghost.
actually, you're close. So, I'll tell you this: it's also another house of, but a different one.
Oh, the house. It wasn't House of Wolfman, was it?
Mm-mm.
So it was House of Dracula.
Yep. And
Oh,
the first one was Frankenstein meets the Wolfman.
mm-hmm.
And funny thing is too, like there was actually a bonus in there because there was actually technically a fourth, which would have been at the Abbott and Costello meets the Wolfman, because that all actually was from that same story saga.
That's crazy. I remember we did Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein
Ah,
for horror film lovers, which is like your favorite Abbott and Costello thing,
oh, it really is. I mean, I absolutely love that stuff. I mean, they have it all connect with the Universal Monsters, which is also a diehard love of mine too. And then get to watch this. And actually, like I watched the unrated version because I did a quick little quiz because I was getting so fascinated when I was watching the movie. I just started. I was like, you know what? I gotta look up a few things here because I'm actually a little curious. Like I'm really interested to know more about this, and there is always some really cool things. Like one, if you watch the unrated version of this movie, the very first thing that shows up on the thing is the old classic
Yeah,
Universal thing, and
I
right.
watched the unrated version.
Yep, yep. And the first thing when I came up, I looked right at my wife and I go, "Honey, that's already 1 point in favor for this film because of
That
that."
that was I talked to ChatGPT a lot, and I was like, I was talking because you can actually like do a voice thing to them, and stuff to the chat, and so I was like, oh my God, there's a the original Universal logo. Like, this is like, to me that was exciting to see. I mean, the movie had a lot of really cool points to it. And the big thing that I was like thinking about was that, first of all, this is a horror film.
Hmm.
This is a horror film. This isn't an action film with some horror in it. This is a straight up horror film that has maybe a few action scenes that are there because of the horror, unlike the Mummy, which they I think they reverted back to the Brendan Fraser Mummy instead of focusing on the Lon Chaney Mummy. I think it was Lon Chaney, was or Boris Karloff.
Oh, it was a Boris Karloff.
Yeah, so it was Boris Karloff. I think Lon Chaney's done a lot of these
Oh yeah,
different
I
movies
mean,
too.
technically, Archie has played the Mummy before too. But if you're talking about the mainstream one for Universal, it was Boris Karloff.
See, and that's what I feel like they need to bring back that they're not going to, is the like I'll go into this because I've been wanting to talk about this like somewhere, and so it's kind of perfect for here. And you are a big, like, you're a big Marvel guy, right? Or
Oh
you
yeah,
like Marvel.
be like
Do you
I definitely follow and read their stuff.
do you like DC?
Oh, I love DC. Like between the two, DC's a little bit more of my favorite. But I'm not one of those yay DC, ooh yuck Marvel or anything like that. I mean, I enjoy Marvel stuff too, but I find myself more more interested in some more of the DC characters than I do some of the Marvel characters as a whole. But I still enjoy both, and I go watch both the movies and read the comics.
Well, so like in the first Iron Man movie that they made, right? It was focused all on Iron Man. He had a villain, he fought whatever, right? So in these adaptations of the monster movies, like maybe even like Dracula's Untold and things like that, they didn't they tried to make it more like a Marvel movie, right? Like The Mummy was more like a wannabe Marvel movie. They had Tom Cruise as a random character, basically he was Ethan Hunt, and hunting down mummy stuff instead, like it was this, basically the same character. I felt like it became more like they tried to do Marvel, but what was so great about the original things is like Dracula, right? The first Dracula with Bela Lugosi, fantastic.
Hmm.
Todd Browning movie, fantastic film. And then they did Frankenstein, right? Did you know, like, I think this is true. This is what I heard, that Bela Lugosi was asked to be Frankenstein, you know, and the Frankenstein monster, and he said no because he didn't want to be up in the makeup and stuff, so he turned it down.
I
You
could
know,
actually see that. Given the actor in his persona and his reputation, I mean, like I hadn't heard about that, but knowing of the man and following his biography and everything, I I'm not surprised if that was a thing. Like it definitely sounds like his character.
mm.
That he would say something like that. He definitely felt like he's got that, look, that demeanor, like with the accent and everything. He looked at himself as pretty much a George Clooney.
Well, he didn't want to be in the makeup the whole time and just grunting, right?
Hmm.
And everything like that. He was too sophisticated for the part of Frankenstein. So he turned it down, and Bela Lugosi got it. Well, that was wonderful because then he was Dracula, Bela Lugosi was Frankenstein or Frankenstein's monster. And then Lon Chaney Jr., the son of Lon Chaney, became the Wolfman. And so there was those guys, and then Boris Karloff again played the mummy, and you know what I mean? Like, and so all of these characters, but they could, but then they could have their own movies and then their own little crossovers and different things. But they had to start with their first ones, and they had to be horror. I mean, they're universal monsters.
And And some of them had multiple sequels before even the idea of bringing them together was even about. Because part of it was in the beginning is like it wasn't really thought of like of we need to like it was just more like, oh, look at this, like these two comedy and they weren't legends at the time, but they were definitely big time, at least at that time, like we can get them to come into our film and stuff. And oh, look at this, we can also get all of them and all of them, because guess what, they're all in the same universal movie lot. And stuff. I mean, I kind of joke around too that if the Three Stooges were signed by Universal and not Columbia, you probably would have saw them in the movie
Mhm.
probably too. uh,
Yeah, Three Stooges meet Dracula,
I'd watch it.
or the Marx Brothers meet Dracula. That would have been fun, you know. You know, yeah, Groucho would have said something silly to them,
Let me
I'm like,
how this Black Lagoon into a dry martini.
yeah, exactly. But oh man, yeah, so it's fun to like think about that. And then so this movie, I think they were just trying to bring back the Universal monsters some
Mhm.
way or another. And and then they did the Wolfman, and they brought it back to the original roots, and everything.
In a lot of ways, they did. There are a lot of nods, and there are a lot of similarities to the original story, but it also goes off on its own and kind of writes its own path. My wife and I were actually comparing this to Sleepy Hollow, which ironically both were scored by Tim Burton, which is kind of cool. Um,
Who waits?
oh
Tim
no,
Burton?
Oh no, I'm sorry. Tim Burton actually was a part of this. I think he was a part of the score of the aesthetic, which and then of course he did Sleepy Hollow.
Okay. But who did Danny Elfman did the
Yeah, yeah.
score. So yeah, so it's the same score, for
And when you look, if you watch the movie, like when you like there's a lot of similarities in the aesthetics and like and the clothing and the style, like with Sleepy Hollow, and in the same way, like they like even with Sleepy Hollow, they took like a good story and they gave it a little bit more meat, like around the bone, like and you know. Of course, it's always risky a little bit, but I felt like with the Wolfman overall, I thought they did a great job with
Hmm.
it. I really enjoyed it. I loved the nods. I mean, like on the train, the old man with the wolf, with the silver wolf head. I mean, that was just such classic.
Well,
Uh,
that was also, I thought about that. I was like, if you introduce a gun in Act One, it better go off in Act Three. That was the same thing with here. You introduced a tool that later in Act Three he uses,
mhm.
or whatever. So, that was definitely planned. By the way, this was a Joe Johnston movie. First of all, I did not know this until I saw it on the credits, in the beginning credits, and I was like, Joe Johnston, like Jumanji's Joe Johnston, and what is it? He did like I think the one of the Jurassic Parks, maybe part three. I think it was part three.
Huh?
And I think did he do the Rocketeer? I want to say he did a lot of great movies, and yep, he did the Rocketeer as well. And he was such a Disney guy for a while, and everything. So it's fun to see him do a Universal movie. but it was weird because like, oh yeah, he also did a Captain America movie like right after this, Captain America, the First Avenger. So he was, yeah, man, that's just weird because I never thought of him doing a horror film. Like
Yeah,
Jurassic Park movies, like Jurassic Park 3, it's kind of a horror film-ish kind of thing, but not really. That's an adventure story.
yeah, it's a story that has like some terror moments in it. I guess would be
No.
there because I mean, I'm not sure we can really call dinosaurs completely creatures, just for the fact that, like, when you're kids, like, like, one are those two. They're not the most scariest of things to kids.
Right, exactly. But yeah, he had done that. He did October Sky, which I love, which he did the Page Master. Did
And
you know that?
oh,
I With Macaulay Culkin, yeah, such a weird movie, you know. Um, but yeah, he did some great Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the original. So
oh,
he was a big big director. But he did more family oriented stuff. This is like, I mean, we watched the unrated version, which I almost was gonna watch the theatrical because I had never seen the movie before, right? So,
mhm,
and you didn't either. So I was like, but then I was like, you know what? I mean, I kind of want to see what the full thing was. Maybe
mhm.
one day I'll watch the theatrical and see what might be different, you know? I don't I don't know what different stuff. Maybe they just added a couple more kills
Uh,
that weren't in the thing.
Maybe the gore was a little bit more up to, because I will say on the unrated version there were definitely some pretty good gory kills all throughout that thing. Because I was like, oh yeah, this ain't your old black and white 1940s Wolfman, where it's like the whole I'm dead. Like, which, don't get me wrong, like, a lot of it was more back then. It was more about the story. It wasn't about the terror of the kills. It was more about looking at the monsters and their makeup and stuff. That was the big charm from back in that day and stuff. Like, today we're on a much different level of standard for our horror films.
Yeah, well, I did like that they went back to making him basically a wolf man. Like he had, like he's not just a werewolf, he's a wolf man.
Exactly. The whole, like, like, just more of like the fluffy, like, almost kind of like you're wearing like one of those really bushy Russian caps or something, with a lot of like good makeup around you.
But kind of like a Teen Wolf, and stuff where
And I agree. Like, I thought that was great, and there was great casting in that too. Ironically, like my wife and I were actually sitting down lunch, and we kind of both came to a fun epiphany together too. We realized, you know what? All four of the main stars are actually from the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Emily Blunt?
Sue Storm.
Wait, is she?
She was for the Doctor Strange one, because it was her and John Krasinski.
Oh, okay. So she was in Doctor Strange in the multiverse.
Is actually originally wanted.
Oh, but she wasn't in it though. She was wanted in it, but she never actually because she's actually married to John Krasinski, and there was a talk about her being it. So I don't think she was in Doctor Strange. Only John Krasinski was.
I thought she had a little cameo in that one too. But then you also had Hopkins as Odin, Benito
Mm,
Oro as the collector, and Hugo Weaving as Red Skull.
mm, yeah. So all of them, yeah, those guys, and I think they sort of set up that it could have a potential sequel because even though spoiler alert, everybody, Benicio del Toro's character dies, right? But he bit or whatever Hugo Weaving's character, I believe, at the end, right? I thought he bit him, and like there was a potential that there could be more, like he could be another one or something. That's what I thought. That's what I got out of it.
Oh, and you can't even rule out Benito del Toro's Wolfman couldn't return too, because same happened with Lon Chaney when they did the original Wolfman to the Wolfman Returns. You know, it was essentially that, like, yeah, he died and he was covered in wolfsbane and stuff and put in a tomb. And then two grave robbers came in and opened it up because him being Lawrence Talbot from a big giant estate, they assumed he had money or something maybe in his tomb. And when they opened it up and removed all of the wolfsbane, and the full moon hit him, it actually brought him back to life as the Wolfman.
Hmm. All right. Well, that would be cool if they, I mean, if they had done that. But, um, what would have been cool now is if like somebody comes up with the idea, and somebody might steal this from me. I don't know. I don't care. I'm throwing it out in the universe. But somebody comes up with to Universal and pitches a Universal multiverse where they have all the like the heroes and the villains from the all the different things that are still alive, right? The people that are still alive, like Benicio del Toro as the Wolfman, and I forgot who was Dracula and Dracula's Untold. But
I know he's from the Hobbit. He played Bard.
Luke Evans, I
Yeah,
believe. Yeah. So Luke Evans, and then what is it, the Invisible Man, the guy who played the Invisible Man in the Blumhouse one, and then all these different ones all get together and they have their own like monster club. And it's a monster universe where they're, whatever, like they're causing havoc in the world, but they have to come together to stop something else that hasn't been, done yet there, that could be cool. I don't know. I'm always thinking in like universes and stuff because I've always loved universes ever since TGIF introduced them to me. Like the minute I didn't really read comics as a kid because I just never got into them as a kid. But when I watched TGIF, I saw like Urkel go to like Full House and
hmm
then meet Stephanie, and then he went to like Step by Step and met Al, and I'm like, wait a minute, he knows those people, you know? Like how does that how did that happen? Oh my God. I even go crazy when I see it on TikTok, like there'd be people I follow in TikTok and there'd be other people I follow, and when they cross over, I'm like, how do they know each other? You
Uh,
know?
on at least I can tell you two occasions they did they created a whole other new universe because one was so big and so popular. Those two examples would be Different Strokes created The Facts of Life, and
Right.
Perfect Strangers created Family Matters.
Exactly. And there's another spin-off. Remember Just the 10 of Us?
Yep.
That was a spin-off,
Yeah,
so
off the gym coach. I want to say it was Mr. Lubbock. I think.
yeah. But I forgot what show he was on
Oh,
originally.
Growing Pains.
Growing Pains. Yeah.
Yeah, because he had all those feuds with Mike Seaver.
So there you go. And so that and then was it get so excited talking about this. But speaking of Mike Seaver and the girl, was it Alyssa Milano's character, Sam, um from um
Oh,
God,
false.
yeah, who's the boss? They had a crossover commercial that I saw recently that I didn't remember, but I guess that existed, where she was like, Dad, and then she walks over and goes, oh, I'm sorry, I must be in the wrong house. And it's Mike sitting at his thing is like, oh, hey, you're, Sam from Who's the Boss? And she's like, you're Mike from Growing Pains. And then they're like, wow, it's so interesting that like we live right down the street from each other, stuff like that. They just make jokes, and stuff. And and to me that was like, oh my God, that is so cool. But it's because they were on the same like lineup or whatever,
Yep. They
and
were
stuff.
working on the same lot, so a lot of times them jumping over from one to another was always really easy. A matter of fact, I'm trying to remember which one it was. It was actually some really big, well-known movie too, but apparently, it was. I think it was during the Abbott and Costello horror movie. There was another big movie going on at that time, and they're having a big giant rap party, and they actually asked all the guys from the Universal Monsters to come on over in their makeup and hang out with everyone and party with them for their rap party.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
I know it's somewhere like on the trivia somewhere, but I
All
remember.
I can think about what go ahead, sorry.
I just remember it was actually a pretty well-known movie. I'm like, oh wow, that's actually pretty darn cool.
I was also thinking like we don't really have that right now. I mean, we have like Jason and we have Freddy, and who knows how long we'll have those guys, sadly. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
it's getting to that point. But but like, we have Jason and Freddy and Chucky and all these characters. Chucky, my buddy Chucky right here. So I absolutely would love if like they were all able to like cross over, right? And I know there's a group out there making like fan films right now called like the Monsterverse or something, or CCH Monsterverse or something like that. My buddy G. Larry Butler got to play Jason Voorhees' dad and Michael Myers' dad, and now Freddy Krueger's dad, and it's all like think the same character or something, and stuff. And I think that's really cool, like able to do that. Like you're able to make these like things and have them all kind of cross over or whatever. But right now it's through like, what is it? Fan films, because the real films can't ever really do that, right? Because they are not owned by the same company. So, that's why Jason and Freddy had to wait till they were part of New Line before they were able to do that, and Chucky is Universal, so Chucky couldn't do that unless, unless somehow or another they New Line bought them too. Would that be crazy if just New Line bought all the movies, all the monsters?
Oh, that would be excellent. Like, or just like any company at this point. I would love for just any company to swoop in and just be like, we're buying the rights to all the great horror icons, both old and new. Like, we're getting the Saws, we're getting the Freddy's, the Jasons, we're getting the Universal monsters, we're getting it all. We're
Oh,
getting.
you won't get the Universal monsters, but a lot of them are in public domain. You can make a Frankenstein movie all you want. You can make a werewolf movie, or well, you can make a werewolf. You can make a Dracula movie all you want. You just can't have it look like, Bela Lugosi or whatever. You have to stick to the book. But you can do whatever you want because they're public domain. You know, s- Winnie the Pooh is public domain, and we found that out when they made the silly Winnie the Pooh universe, the Poohniverse. I'm like, I can't believe that's called that. Like, really, Poohniverse. Like,
Hmm.
wait, you know. I don't know if you've met any of the people from that because I know you go to some conventions and stuff, but I think they're all from the UK
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. Um, but anyway, all right. Well, let's say we're getting off track like normal. So let's get back to the Wolfman. What was your favorite like scenes in the movie?
Ooh, That's that's a tough one because there are some really good ones. I will say that open kill scene at the gypsy camp was pretty darn good. And actually a fun little fact I found out because I was kind of like I said, I was kind of trivia. I came across something. I was like, no kidding. Um, when you saw that one gypsy in the open field before the big massacre happens, do you remember there's that one gypsy that starts whistling, whistling, and then he gets his head knocked off.
Mm-hmm.
That gypsy was the special effects artist for the Wolfman movie, and that special effects artist is also the one and the only Rick Baker.
Exactly. I know that. Yeah, I looked that up. 'Cause I was like, wait, why is Rick Baker an actor in this? But I mean, I'm sure they did that as, hey, let's get you to do a cameo because you're, fantastic. And he's acted before, so this wasn't his first time, doing it or whatever.
Tom Savini, does like a lot of the zombie movie, special effects, and a lot of times you'll find him like sometimes in big parts, and sometimes he has small little cameo ones in there, but he usually shows up somewhere.
Yeah, like in From Dusk Till Dawn, which he was not the special effects guy on. but he
Hmm.
just did a cameo because he likes I guess because Tarantino probably asked, wanted him in that specifically, it's so funny to know like Tarantino was such a big fan of like the 80s horror films and stuff like that of that, like he probably saw, 'cause he had him and he had Fred the Hammer Williamson in there, I mean, how awesome. Like that's just so retro right there, just having those guys who are like classic. And at that time they weren't that retro, I guess, because it was 90 something, so it wasn't like, like nowadays it would definitely be retro if you had those guys in your movie,
Yeah.
to bring them back. But still cool, you know. And hey, by the way, don't ever call Fred just just Fred Williamson. He likes to be called Fred the Hammer Williamson. You have to put the hammer in there.
You have to put the
I
hammer.
I found that out because he yelled at me about that. I was interviewing him and he was like, "The hammer." I was like, "What was that?" He goes, "Fred the Hammer Williamson." And I was like, "Oh, okay, Fred the Hammer Williamson." And then I asked him how he got that name. Then he got mad at me because I called it black exploitation movies, and he does not like that. So my friend did not want me to put it out because it like, the guy that that shot it did not want me to put that interview out because he does kind of go off on me on a lot of stuff that I was like,
Yeah.
ugh, the other, yeah, so he was like, he said this too on other interviews, but he said, do I call your movies white exploitation movies? And I was like thinking, you could, I don't care. Like, like, I'm not going to be upset about that, but I didn't say that. I was just like, no, okay, you got a point. Just move on.
It's just easier to do that.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you're interviewing somebody and it just doesn't, it's just awkward, or whatever. Maybe he wasn't in the mood to be interviewed. I don't know. He was okay with doing it. I asked him and we got a good time and, whatever. Anyway, but yeah, so Benicio was great in this movie.
Yes, he was.
And I mean, he's great in everything. I've never seen anything that he's bad in, Have you?
No, I mean, and like my wife and I actually were actually even talking about that. We were actually talking about how like him and Hugo Weaving both transform so well in their movies. Like, because if you look at their library, they have done a lot of different style characters, and they've all like been like a different kind of thing. Like, comparing Del Toro to Wolfman to how he was in like say like the Usual Suspects, or then you look at him as the collector, or then look at him in Snatch. They're all very well diverse and
Or
you.
where was it? The Las Vegas, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Oh yeah, if you're in
You
the
know,
things,
like
yeah,
everything he's done, he's a different character in all of them, you
you do
know.
very, very, very well. I mean, and then Anthony Hopkins, of course. Anthony just. I mean, I'm a fan of Anthony Hopkins. He's one of those guys where like I kind of feel like he could just like with the way he acts, like and there's a few other actors I would actually say like Morgan Freeman's kind of the same way. Like he just has that kind of mind, that kind of tone, presence, and stuff that he can just read off like the ingredients on like a box of cereal or something to you, and it'll be fascinating, and you'll be like engaged. You're like, go on, yes,
Yeah.
yes, flour, yeast, rice, yes, grains. Mm-hmm.
I was actually thinking he could read me to sleep and he would probably act everything out. There was that great line in the movie where he had he had come out because the people were trying to take Benicio del Toro away, right? Because they knew he was the Wolfman. They're trying to take him away and he shoots at the guy and he's like I meant to shoot you, but I missed because I'm getting old now, or whatever. He was like, my buddy, my assistant's up there, who I've seen in a lot of films too. The guy who played his assistant,
Mm-hmm.
guy or whatever. He's like, he's up on the roof there, and he's much more of a sharpshooter than I am. So then when he goes inside, he's talking to Benicio del Toro, and he said, tell, I think his name was Singh, you
Yeah.
know, uh, tells Sing thank you when he comes back from town, and then he looks at us like, "You're not the only one who can act around here." And I was almost thinking I almost felt like a little jab to from Sir Anthony Hopkins to Benicio del Toro. It's like, hey, you're not the only one around here who can act,
Yeah.
right? Both of them. And I mean, they held their own. They were fantastic together, you know.
Well, I
I
mean, there was a lot of great chemistry across the board for that one. I mean, like I said, Emily Blunt, she did a great job. Hugo Weaving also did a phenomenal job. Like I like I said, the aesthetics, the scenery, like like my wife was joking with me the whole time about one thing. Like our second movie that we did with our company, Go Away. We have a lot of good fog aesthetic scenes, and that was kind of like I was pushing. I was like, "Hey, we should do that. It'll add more scene and more aesthetic." And I found out firsthand, like, how much of a pain in the ass it is to get those good, perfect like shots and, using the fog machines and everything. And then like we were watching this, she was like, "So, honey, how many years of experience do you think they had? Because that was actually pretty good."
well, I mean, once again, Joe Johnston knows what he wants. And who's the camera guy on here? Because whoever did the camera was amazing. Um, okay, so Wolfman was first before Dracula. I did not know that. Did you know that?
Dracula Untold too. I thought Luke Evans did a great job. I mean, it was definitely a different Dracula. It was more of like the actual like warrior, not like the universal monster per se.
Hmm. So, okay, so who was the camera guy? Cinematographer was Shelley Johnson. Shelley Johnson's also, I guess, worked a good amount with yeah, so he works a lot with Joe Johnston. So there's Shelley Johnson and Joe Johnston, but he also did the cinematography for, let me start from the very beginning. Because he's been doing it for since the 80s. He did Night Flyer. I'm trying to find ones that I know offhand. Oh, he was the cinematographer for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2,
Ah.
Secret of the Ooze. Uh, my favorite Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, by the way, movie. Um, let's see. He also did. He didn't do.
Unfortunately, I was probably in that like fan base where like I definitely enjoyed it a lot, but also I still just don't understand why we just didn't get Bebop and Rocksteady. It was like it seemed like the perfect opportunity to bring that in.
There was a there was an issue with the cartoon rights to it. There's some kind of issue because trust me, they were aiming for that when they brought in that Razar and
It kind
those
of
two.
like it's like you guys were like right there at the finish line. It's like you just stopped, like
Well,
no.
I'm saying there was a rights issue because otherwise I think they would have brought them in. There was no reason to not, at that time and introduce two characters that we'd never heard of, you know. So, but yeah, and I wanted Krang. So I was really disappointed when the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that came out with Michael Bay's ones, didn't have Bebop or Rocksteady or Krang. I was like, but you got the guy who's gonna end up being the Fly in it, but he doesn't even turn. Like, what is this? This is crap, like ah. And then the second one they brought in Bebop and Rocksteady and Krang. And so I was like, all right, you win me over there, And ah, um I mean, I still wanted to see Baxter turn into a freaking fly, you know. And they never did that because they never did the third one, you know. So I hope they make more live action Turtles movies because, I miss them, you
They
know.
might very well. I keep on hearing that like there's supposed to be a really big RPG Turtles game coming out for the video game consoles and stuff. Again, if that game ends up selling well, oh, it will definitely happen. I mean, look at what happened with The Witcher. We got turned into like a TV series.
Yep. Um, by the way, the Emily Blunt scene in this movie where she's skipping the rock,
Hmm.
that was adorable. It was probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie too. Like I was like, oh, this is such a good way to like make you really like kind of see there's the sparks between them and see, see the kind of nice stuff with it.
Too. Like it didn't make him out like he was like some sleazeball trying to move in on his brother's, like his dead brother's wife or anything. It was kind of more of like of the fact of him actually stepping up and trying to find out all these things, what happened to his brother, like and being determined to and doing it also partially when she reached out to him to do it, and
Yep.
all of the wounds he sustained on the way, and her always healing him back to health and everything. I think that kind of is it organically kind of made its own bond without them even knowing it was going to happen.
Right. Also that scene where the in the was it the bar where he's just like listening to these guys gossip about his family and shit, and they don't know that's Lawrence Talbot. I guess he must have left much earlier when he was younger or something because they don't like they didn't recognize him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gets mad and he's like, yes,
Well,
my mother was crazy to come to this shithole town. And the guy's like, you know, uh, you're in drink, boy, you know. And then he throws the drink in the guy's face and says, "My mother was not a whore," and gets taken away. It was like, "Come outside, and I'll tell I'll fix you up and whatnot." And they're like, "Lawrence Talbot?" Like, uh-oh, you know, like they know he's come here to cause some trouble, you know.
not only that, it's like you just got done talking like some pretty bad smack about his mom while he was right there. It's like, you know,
Yeah.
like I told my wife, I was like, yeah, if you were saying those kind of things about my mom and all you got was a drink in the face, you're lucky.
Yeah, exactly. Like that should have made him just like beat the crap out of him, but you
Or at least even for that era, a good like smack. You have smited me, sir.
And the last thing I could think of, like my other favorite scene in the movie is him being studied by the people or whatever and everything, and he's like, "Let me out of here, you're not gonna, you know." Basically, I was kind of thinking about it. If you look at the Universal monsters, they're sort of like the Avengers, right? Like Dr. Frankenstein could be like Iron Man, right? What is it? Uh, who like or Dracula would be Count Dracula would be um probably I would say maybe Captain America. No, no, not that. But the Hulk is definitely the Wolfman. Would you agree?
Um, well, what the funny thing is, the Hulk was actually technically was written and based off of an old Universal monster, but it was actually Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. What was the inspiration?
That also works too. So Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but I think the Wolfman works too because you wouldn't like me when I'm angry, and he furries up. So I guess it would work for both, you know.
They kind of did like a little bit of that already with that HBO series, The Creature Commandos, the James Gunn animation one, which actually is actually pretty darn good. I
I've
actually
heard good things. I just haven't watched it yet. I do want to see it though. I'm I think James Gunn is knowing what he's doing right now, like with having basically all the superheroes that are gonna have like their own little spin-offs and stuff, like Supergirl and a few others, and the Lanterns and things like that. Uh, being in Superman, so we see them for the first time, they're helping out, they're whatever, and then they're going off and having their own solo stories, and I think that's what you know, I was never a big fan of and I get a lot of crap for this, I'm sure, but I was never a big fan of Zach God, my brain is like messed up right now.
I mean,
Uh,
Zack God Snyder.
Zack Snyder. I'm just not a really big fan of him. And like I thought he was overblown, and then he wants us to watch director's cuts that are like extremely long, and I just was never really a fan. I mean, I get other like I liked him when he did Dawn of the Dead, and we did that. Remember? We
Hmm.
reviewed that already. Um, I loved it when he did that. I loved it when he did like Sucker Punch and a few other movies, but like when he started doing the Batman universe, I was just like, you're and then Batman versus Superman, they liked each other because or they agreed with each other because they're both of their mother's name was Martha. Like that was the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
There was a lot more to it if you watch the Ultimate Cut. Like that was part of the problem. You are right. Snyder writes long scripts. I agree. Because unfortunately, I am one of those like Snyder, like ones. I did like the Snyderverse a lot. Because like I could tell what they were going for. They were doing New 52 and edging into like the Injustice story arc, which I was a very, very big diehard fan of, and I thought he was doing a pretty good job of it. Up at that point. I was actually pretty excited because he did The Watchmen prior to that, and in my opinion, The Watchmen to this day is still probably the most comic book accurate to the source material I've seen ever made. Uh, but um, but the biggest problem with Snyder was he has so much damn studio interference. Dawn of Justice ended up being because I felt the same thing when I saw it in the theaters. It's like, well, that was very I felt like I was getting a lot of half stories on it without even thinking that. I found out, oh yeah, no, like the studio made him cut out like 45 minutes of the movie because they wanted to get more screen times, and I'm like, all right, so it's not his story. And then that Josh Whedon, I mean, say what you will about Snyder cuts, Justice League. It may be long, but if you put up the Josh Whedon's cut, I think Snyder wrote like an absolute class, kind of like Lord of the Rings esque almost, but for a DC universe is kind of how I looked at that one.
Hmm.
I thought it was very well done. I thought there was a lot of
Didn't
great.
they make it black and white or something?
Oh well. You got both versions of it. You can watch it in color, or you can watch it in black and white if you want that kind of that more dark aesthetic.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just not really a big fan, but it's okay.
It's okay. I mean, it's a moot point anyway. They've already moved on. I mean, and I'm willing to give Gunn a fair shake and everything. Like most of the stuff he's done thus far, outside of his Suicide Squad, I like David Ayer's Suicide Squad more than the Gunn Suicide Squad. Especially the depiction of Harley. I thought Suicide Squad had it nailed. Gunn just kind of I don't know, like kind of went in a different direction. I wasn't that big of a fan of, but
Right.
but all of his other stuff, like I like the Peacemaker series. I thought that was good, and I like the Creature Commandos. That was a good one. And right now, that's all he's really done for the DC universe. So like his real big telltale will definitely be Superman.
Yep.
That's going to tell us everything about whether or not it's going to go or not. And I would agree with most of it too. Like as bad as it sounds, it's kind of like in a lot of ways, this movie does need to do big. It has to be big, and if it's not, then it's already going to be off to a bad start.
Exactly. So yeah, so I was saying, I guess I was saying earlier, like when he's like, kind of being studied and everything, and then he starts turning, and he becomes this, becomes the wolf, and then he like, starts attacking everybody. But like throughout the whole time, the doctor is not paying attention. That transformation scene is so Rick Baker, and
Mm.
I don't know how much of it was like practical and how much was CGI, but it did seem very practical, a lot of it, and stuff.
I would say if not all of it, at least the majority of it was definitely practical. I mean, that's just Baker style.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why you would hire Baker if you wanted CGI, or something.
It'd be like hiring Savini to do like CGI is like why you're going to take this man's art away?
Well, and that's what I hated about like the new Wolfman, is it just didn't have like anything that I didn't already see in a million other movies, you know? And even though like the Wolfman, this one, it's a remake, we've kind of been there, done that. Even American Werewolf in London was very much like the Wolfman, right? So like we've seen it before, but I don't know. I still enjoyed it, as opposed to, and I love Lee Winnell. Don't get me wrong. Don't think I like don't enjoy Lee's movies, or anything. I just wasn't very impressed by the new one, the new Wolfman. And that's fair. I mean, it's just not, you know, this this one I think was done better because it felt like they really understood where the original was.
Yeah, and I would agree. Because I haven't seen the new one yet, but I mean, like I've read synopsises on it, and from just reading that synopsis compared to what I watched with this one really does feel like a genuine love letter to the original. And another reason why I know it is too is the one of the producers on this one is actually Benito del Toro, and Benito del Toro actually said on many interviews that the Wolfman was always his favorite Universal monster growing up as a kid.
Yeah, I saw a documentary that they had, like a little bit of one that was on my Blu-ray, and he was talking about how he loved all of them. He loved like Frankenstein and Wolfman, and yeah, and Wolfman was one of his favorite, monsters, and he, always wanted to do it. And I guess when, it must be nice to be that famous and be able to walk into Universal and say, I want to do the Wolfman. That's what I want to do. And, I bet that's what Blumhouse had to do. They had to go up there and say, hey, we want to take care of the Universal monsters. We'll get Lee to do a couple, then we get some other guys to do other ones. And they never did because The Invisible Man, I don't think, did as well as they were hoping it to do. Um, or maybe, I don't know. Is the is Jason Blum going to be doing other stuff, do you know,
I
with
mean,
them?
I've always heard rumblings for a while that they were going to do a Creature from Black Lagoon movie. Originally, I heard that Scarlett Johansson was lined up to be the Julie Adams character, the lead girl,
Hmm.
which I would have been totally down for. I mean, like Scarlett Johansson could definitely pull off that, time era kind of style and look. Like she's had that she's wore those kind of styles close enough to a degree in some of the Avenger movies in itself.
Good God. He has he has 77 movies in development, Jason Blum. 77 movies in development. There's no way he'll get to all of them, you know? That's the sad thing. Unless he did like, if he did like 12 movies, like 12 movies a year, which is like one movie a month, you know, then maybe, right? But even then, because that would be what, 5, 6 years, maybe 6 years, 7 years, something like that, to get that. And then he would have to make sure not to put anything extra on there, So nothing for, like, that's insane. Sometimes I think they just buy the movies and they have no plan of ever actually making any of these, or whatever. That's just
Not
crazy.
keep in your library. So if you ever want to, you have the option to go to.
Like, he's got one movie called Mina Harker that's in development. So there, I guess that would have been a Dracula thing. There's a Florida Man horror movie. Well, it's this crime movie. Um, yeah, holy crap. But there was Untitled The Thing remake.
Mm.
Which I'm sure is not everybody's favorite idea. to do like a remake of. Lee Cronin's The Mummy. So I don't know who's Lee Cronin.
Oh, it's got to be a step up from the last one.
What was the last one? Oh, the last Mummy.
Yeah.
Lee Cronin was the director of Evil Dead Rise. So he's doing The Mummy.
I did he do both those new the remake and in that one or just the Rise?
I think he just did The Rise. Because they've been doing like a different director on each one.
Oh, okay.
So the first Evil Dead remake was one, Evil Dead Rise, and then there's a new one, and each one is a different director.
Okay. Oh, fair enough. I was more just curious if it was that or it was kind of more like with like Rami or like where Rami did all but most of the work.
Yeah, it's funny. Somebody was mentioning it, and they thought that Evil Dead needed a to go back to the comedy stuff that would made it more fun, right? These stuff is just more serious, so it becomes more like just a regular demon movie, right? Like, I don't know. If you don't have Ash in it, is it really a
Well, I was getting ready to say that the problem is if that's the case, then I don't think you picked the right lead for for those series and stuff because you need to find someone who just has that good can still be like to a degree still somewhat serious, but it's still like be comical. And
right?
there are actors and like even actresses out there that can definitely, oh, sorry, that can definitely do that. And they're definitely out there. It's just, they're not as many, but they're definitely out there. Like, at one point, The Rock was that kind of character. He could be a, big serious force, but also be humorous.
hmm So they're also doing Untitled GameStop project. What is
Games.
that? What? Like GameStop, like the store? That's weird. Um,
I'm willing to bet you it's probably a former employee. Like that store, like was infamous for a long time, and like there's like I think there was it was a bunch. It was something like 30,000 different people started doing like like videos about their experiences at GameStop, and none of them were very nice.
hmm Oh, there's a comedy that they're doing called Divided States of America. That's funny. That that sounds, oh Lord, man. And they're doing one called Wake.
Wait, huh?
Wake sounds very much like woke, you know. I don't know. It's just like I don't know with them. I have no idea. Blumhouse has been hit or miss for me, and like I really didn't like Afraid, the AI movie they tried to do.
Hmm.
Um, one of my friends was saying, if you want to be in the film industry, you can't criticize Blumhouse. And I'm like, I can criticize whatever the fuck I want to criticize.
Yeah.
Like, even as a filmmaker, like, what? They're not going to hire me because they saw that I said that I didn't like one of their movies, you know? Like, that's dumb.
There's
And if they didn't hire me for that, like, okay, you know?
even even some of my favorite directors have done like movies. I'm like, not your finest work. It doesn't mean they're bad directors. It's just that was not one of your best ones. Like,
hmm
I mean, like it would almost be like, going through like any franchise, like, of any sort, like your Friday the 13th or anything like that. It's like they're going to be like, all depending on who you are, you're going to have some that you think are going to be better than others. Not that you think the other ones aren't good. You still will go back and watch them. They're just not your preferred ones in the series.
So if you remade the Wolfman, say you got the rights to the Wolfman, what would you do?
Hmm. It would definitely be pretty darn similar to this movie. I will not lie. I would definitely keep it. I would want to have done a very true, nod to the original. Um, and like I said, a lot of things they did are things I would have done. Because like one thing I don't want to do, unless it's just something that hasn't been done in a long, long, long time, is I never want to. If I was to do a remake, I wouldn't want it to be an exact carbon copy of what the original was, because then I'm not breaking any new ground. And well, that there's already that movie out already. We don't need to see it again, just
Mm.
now with different actors or actresses. If I'm going to do it, I want there to be a lot of love towards the original. Let them know that there is that love towards them, but I still wanted to veer off and make my own. And he did a lot of good things, and they did a lot of good things on this one because, like in the original, his dad's actually already dead and everything, and his dad, wasn't a werewolf either. Uh,
Hmm.
his family were werewolves, or even gypsy lovers per se, either. And he also didn't fall in love with his brother's sister either. Although one thing I did like about that too, because I think that was a nod too, was the giant telescope, because that I felt like that the giant telescope was actually a nod to the original, because that's when Lawrence Talbot finds the woman he falls in love with in the original Wolfman. He actually looks through a telescope and sees her at a store across the way. So he was so enchanted by her beauty, he left where the telescope was and immediately walked all the way across the way to the other store just so he could introduce himself to her, and actually got a date with her and went to the gypsies, and that's when he ended up getting his thing. But then also, yeah, the gypsies, I definitely would have kept that in there. I like that. Although I think one twist I might have maybe have thrown is I would have maybe have not. I I I think I would have liked it with the original, where like I would have kept it with like him like coming back to his estate with his father's passing, because now he's the only heir to the estate. But it always his good, trusty, worthy runner of the estate. You could say a butler, but personal servant to the family estate. Was still there, because even if you put Anthony Hopkins in a role like that, I think he would have done phenomenal. And
Right.
uh, but um, but then maybe change up a little differently per se, like actually maybe have it where like there's I'll actually maybe go with maybe a route of maybe perhaps it would be maybe someone from the town is actually the werewolf, but actually tries to frame it on the gypsies, because town
Mm.
people and gypsies never did like each other. In the overall thing, it was trying to set them up to make them look like the ones taking the fall and stuff. Like I think it would have done a more of a simplistic switcheroo, kind of like what they did in My Bloody Valentine.
Well, so um in the normal lore of werewolves, right? If you kill the main werewolf, you know, every all the other ones turn, right? Isn't that the general rule? Is if you kill the alpha, one, every all the other ones turn back to human.
I thought that was vampires.
And I think that's werewolves too. I think you have to kill the alpha in order to like I think sometimes they different films do different things and it changes the different lores, you know? Because like how did Lon Chaney like what happened with him at the end of the original Wolfman? I'm trying to remember.
Oh, he was killed by his butler with the wolf silver head cane.
Oh, that's right. And only like I love the idea like what it was the one true love can save you kind of thing, or whatever. Isn't that like a part of the lore too? Is like true love can save you or something. Am I
Uh,
right?
well, it was for that movie. I don't think it was a part of the original though.
Okay, well I think it's somewhere along the lines is people have been making werewolf movies for so long, so many different ones that the lore just keeps changing and becoming
Oh yeah.
whatever. And that's the beauty is you can take and choose whatever you want.
Well, I mean, they didn't say it was zombies. I felt like they even made I can't remember what like horror comedy was. It was some kind of horror comedy like where it was like a zombie invasion because they were like, well, what kind of zombies are they? Are they like Romero or like 28 days later zombies? And like Romero, oh shit.
What movie was that? I just heard saw that. Um, that was a. Do you know what you're talking? Like, do you know what movie that is? Like, because
I'm drawing a blank, but I remember the line because I always thought like that was actually pretty funny because it's true. Or like Return of Living Dead zombies even too, like where they could talk and they could actually be a little comical.
hold on. Which zombies are they? Romero or um, what movie was that? Ah, I was trying to remember what freaking movie that was because I did watch a movie that said that it was a zombie flick, I think. Ugh, you're oh my goodness. Anyway, anywho, I really enjoyed this movie. I also realized that it was written by Andrew Kevin Walker, who did Seven.
Oh,
It was co-written by him. So Andrew Kevin Walker did Seven. He also did um Sleepy Hollow.
yeah, there we go.
He was the screen story and screenplay of Sleepy Hollow. He did Brain Scan, the original movie for Brain Scan. Did 8 millimeter. You know, um, he did the Wolfman. Then later, he did a movie called Nerdland. I guess it's a cartoon. Never heard of it, but in a movie called The Killer that was out recently on Netflix, starring Michael Fassbender and directed by David Fincher.
I mean, I
So,
definitely like Michael Fassbender. That right there, another phenomenal actor.
yeah.
You know
Uh,
what? It's kind of funny you actually brought up his name. I like if I was to make my Wolfman movie, he'd be a very, very strong candidate for my Lawrence Talbot.
right.
He would be top three choice easy. I
Mm,
He would absolutely nail it.
who wrote- okay. All right. So yeah, so that's awesome though. So the guy, so Andrew Kevin Walker wrote that, co-wrote it with um David Self, and David Self is the guy who did Road to Perdition. He did 13 Days, and he did The Haunting, the 1999 Haunting movie.
Ah,
And he's got a bunch on in development right now. So that's the thing. If people like that have movies in development but haven't been made yet, like Hollywood's in trouble because there they are. Like there's projects made by these people who've done amazing things. Road to Perdition is really good. That's a great graphic novel, come
mhm.
to life with Tom Hanks. But yeah, it's weird, you know. Um, who did that movie? The Road to Perdition it was yeah, Sam Mendes. Okay.
Uh,
Who's
Out of curiosity, uh, we'll go by a IMDb rating score. So 1 out of 10. What would you give this movie?
1 out of 10? I give it an 8.
That's actually kind of funny. That's exactly what I gave it to, and I actually gave it that on IMDb when I saw. I was like, you know what, this movie deserves it. And I was shocked when I saw the score on IMDb. It was like had like a 5.9, and even when you read a lot of the reviews on there, a lot of people are like, what are y'all doing? This is like a solid remake.
Right, like yeah, that's really funny that it got that low, and it seems that so
If you read,
somebody
it deserves
said
Raven.
disappointed, but the movie had a few merits. Like, why are people disappointed in this movie?
I know. I was actually reading some of this with my wife because she was the same way. She's like, people who actually didn't like this one. I was like, yeah, like some people were calling it like really like boring or like lacking character development. She's like, did they not were they not paying attention? Because even she was like The acting was absolutely solid across the board. Like I know, I didn't think there was one weak chain in the link when it came to the acting.
And the characters themselves were fascinating. So, I mean, I was enthralled the whole time.
I was too. I mean, like I said, the scenery was great. The kid, there were so many good gory kills. Like, so if you're one of those gore hounds, like there are definitely shots in there that you're going to be very very happy with.
Maybe
Uh,
they're watching the theatrical version and they haven't seen the director's cut yet, you know,
maybe
or
you
whatever.
know that's actually a very very valid point. We can't exactly criticize on that one because we haven't watched it. We may have watched the theatrical one, like because you and I both watched the unrated. It turned out,
Right.
and we might go watch the theatrical and be like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I can see why people didn't like it, or whatever, you know. I mean, maybe. The only thing is the the thing with the movie is the characters are just interesting because of the time period, that they're in and stuff. And if you're not a person who can tolerate, so I'll tell you one thing. I'm not a big fan of Captain America, the First Avenger, or Wonder Woman. Um, and it's because those movies take place in like the 40s,
Mhm.
and everything. And a lot of that time period, I'm just like, well, first of all, it takes me out of it because I know once again this has to be a completely fictional world because there was no Captain America who saved people in the 1940s, right? Like so when I start watching it, I'm like already like if it's now like 2025, there could be superheroes that just automatic. I kind of wish there were superheroes, taking care of things in this world that need to be taken care of. Sadly, there are not, there's just
Mhm.
dreams of superheroes, but like I could buy it more if it's present because that means like they could be just popping up, right? But so when I watch those things, a lot of films, I used to really hate movies, and then I started watching them again and with a different eye. Like I love watching 1940s movies, 1930s movies, I love classics, and stuff. And some movies I've watched aren't actually classics, but they're still really good 1930s and 40s movies. Like
Mhm.
when you think of classics, you think of like Wizard of Oz or Gone with the Wind or whatever, and those classics. And the Universal Monster movies, those are classics, you know. But when you also see like Arsenic and Old Lace, to me that's a classic, but like some people may never have heard of it.
Duck soup.
Duck Soup. Grouch. Man, you know what? I was not a fan of Duck Soup. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I mean, it was my favorite out of their bunch. Either funny enough, I think my favorite out of the Marx Brothers was when I was Marx Brothers at the circus. I think.
So I've heard of that one, and I wish I don't think I have that one. I have one of them on from Warner Brothers archives, and I want to get them all eventually, from Warner Brothers. I think they're all on the Warner Brothers archives, all the big ones or whatever. I don't have Days at the Races or I have the Night at the Opera. That's the one I have. And I thought that was
That,
pretty
that was
funny.
a good one.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. I don't know what it was. Okay, I know what it was. The beginning of Duck Soup had me cracking up, but then they got into the military parts and stuff, and I just wasn't laughing. Like it took me out after a while. But like there's a courtroom scene in Duck Soup that just makes me laugh so hard, you know?
Hmm.
That I mean, I loved a lot of that. And then the end, like toward the end where they get kind of into like military stuff and war stuff or whatever, I was just like, this is not what I expected from this movie. I didn't know what
Oh no! Oh no! I was actually just giggling.
I didn't know what to expect from a movie called Duck Soup, right? Like that doesn't even make, why would anybody make a movie? Because I remember my parents had it on Betamax.
Hmm.
Years ago. So I would go through my Betamax collection looking for like Princess Bride or Terminator 2 or whatever I had, and then I would look over and I'd see, Duck Soup. And I was like, ew, this is like that sounds like a terrible movie, right? Like a movie about people eating duck soup. Like that's literally where my mind went to. And it's funny because, to go back to Evil Dead, that's how Evil Dead got. Did you ever hear that story of how Evil Dead got its name?
Oh no.
So, originally it was called Book of the Dead, and because that's what they called the short, or they were going to call it the Book of the Dead, which is just the Necronomicon that they have, right? And but the sales guy, the sales rep, looks at him and goes, "Book of the Dead. No, it tested very poorly. People think they're gonna have to read for an hour and a half,
Yeah.
right? We gotta find another name." So he goes and he looks around and he was like, okay, these are the names. And he sounded off a bunch of names. One of them was Evil Dead Men and Evil Dead Women,
Yeah.
right? And he was like, and Sam was like, that's a terrible title. What about just the Evil Dead? He goes, all right, the Evil Dead. That's what the title will be. So,
And you know what, though? I mean, when you think about the title and the artwork that ended up going with it, I mean, I don't think if you had that whole the girl trying to reach out the ground with a hand, pulling them down and stuff. If you like the Book of the Dead, I'm not sure if it would have drawn people as much either. Uh, or especially like all depending on your audience. You know how some people are literal. Some people might read that as Book of the Dead. Oh, it must be a horror novel. I'm somewhere. They may not even be thinking it's a movie.
right. I mean, he was absolutely right. People were gonna think, but that's the thing. That's where it got from my thing. I said duck soup. I feel like I'm gonna have to eat food while I watch this movie or something, you know? Like you have to look at the titles and the titles have to be somewhat interesting for you to watch. The other thing he said, my other favorite, because there's Irvin Shapiro was the guy's name, and he also represented Josh Becker, who was one of Sam Raimi's crew, right? He was
Mhm.
on the Evil Dead and stuff. He worked on it. And they did a movie called, well, originally called Strikers War, right?
Mhm.
And he was like, that sounds like people on strike during a war. We can't have that, right? And he goes, your title is Thou Shalt Not Kill Except. And he goes, that's not a title, that's a tagline. And he goes, well, do you want me to represent your movie? And he goes, yes, of course. It's like, then your title is Thou Shalt Not Kill, except. It's okay. That's what it is. And that was one of the most infamous, like, independent films. We did it on Indie Film Cafe. It's got Sam Raimi as Charles Manson. It is in fucking nuts, or whatever. Sam with his like craziest acting he's ever done. Like, I don't know if you ever seen it or not. I think
Oh,
it's
I see.
available. What?
Uh, yeah, the only time I've seen the only time I've seen both the Rammies on screen together I can recall of was The Intruder.
Intruder, yep. And then if you watch you can see Sam Raimi in I think it was a John Landis movie of Spies Like Us. He's in
Oh,
Spies Like Us. He's been in a bunch of other like he's done cameos in a lot of Coen Brothers movies because they actually helped the Coen Brothers out, because I don't know if you know this, but Joel Coen was one of the editors for Evil Dead.
oh,
Yeah.
the Coen Brothers. Funny enough, I actually overall enjoyed their reboot of the Three Stooges movie.
No, that was the Farrelly brothers
Oh,
who did that.
yeah, no, okay, yeah.
The Coen brothers did like Fargo and,
Oh, my wife absolutely loves Fargo.
yeah, the Lady Killers, that was their remake thing. And well, they've done a couple remakes, I think, you know,
Blade Killer's remake was actually pretty good too, actually.
starring Tom Hanks. Tom
Yeah.
Hanks keeps popping up in everything, man.
And
One of
J.K. Simmons was in that. Actually, though, the character J.K. Simmons did in that one was actually pretty comical.
I mean, he's pretty good at doing comical or doing like intense and stuff. Like he works really well with Sam Raimi on the Spider-Man stuff or whatever that he
And
did.
he owned Jonah Jameson. And the funny thing is, like, he's not even like a mainstream character in that sense. Like, he's not a hero or anything. And to a degree, he's like that. Like, he's that thorn in your side. He's not even a villain. He's just a thorn in your side, like at all times. But he already took that character and he kind of made it his own. Like he kind of became the measuring stick now for Joe Jonah Jameson. It's like,
Well,
and it's going to be a hard one to match because he absolutely nailed it.
I mean, they let him back in on the new Spider-Man stuff, so they were, they didn't replace him, you
Oh,
know.
I mean, unfortunately, like, who are you gonna get? I mean, it's like when you've already got the top of the mountain, to do it for you. It's like now you just gotta try to get someone who's not too far down from there. I know it sounds kind of mean to say. Maybe someone out there will do a better job, but it's just, I don't know. It's just like he was like the pinnacle of just reading in the comics and just seeing it coming to life, and it felt flawlessly. Like there was almost like no like difference at all. Like it just he jumped right out of the comics and came right to the big screen.
Did you see the new Thunderbolts movie?
I have not seen it yet. I've been hearing really good things about it.
I liked it. I mean, I enjoyed it. It's not, I mean, as I described it when I came back to the comic store that like is right by the movies theater, right? I walked in, the guy who owns the comic book store does not see comic book movies because he hates them. He thinks that they don't, they don't stick with the comics, right? And I'm like, I don't want them to stick with the comics. That would bore me, like, because I'd be like, I can just go home and read this, Like, I want my comic book movies to go off on their own world, That's me, personally.
But I mean, I also see their point though too. Though I mean, because I mean, it's like reading Lord of the Rings. Like I was happy they made the Lord of the Rings movies. I loved the novels, so I was really happy to see them actually come to life. And I can see the same about comic books too. Because I mean, there were some really really phenomenal stories written. Like bless you on this.
God dang, sorry.
Uh,
I knew that was coming twice.
uh, uh, but there's some great stories, and it's kind of a double-edged sword, like to a degree too, because it's like I get what you're saying too about like like, go ahead and write your own stories, but then you come across this crossroads where like. But a lot of times when they make those stories, they will tend to tap into other ones that were already written, and they're already demanding it to be on that same level. And if you don't write something that has good, you already have a comparison on you that is going to hurt you because there's something already very well already done. And so you have a measuring stick already in place per se.
Well, with that being said, the reason I brought up the Thunderbolts was that the new Perry White in Superman, because he's like basically the J. Jonah Jameson of the DC universe, right? Perry White, I guess the editor of the
Daily Planet.
Daily Planet, is being played by Wendell Pierce, and Wendell Pierce is also in the Thunderbolts movie. So he's got two movies this year, both playing like characters that are kind of influential in the comic book stuff, or whatever. He's playing like a what is it? And in Thunderbolts, he plays a I think was it a governor or not governor? What was he? Congressman Gary, which he was the one going against the girl or Valentina. So I think you're gonna love it when you see it and stuff. But he's again like you definitely should see that and then see Superman and you'll see that actor play two different roles or probably he's wonderful. I've always liked him in the TV show Suits as uh as Rachel Zane's father, and Rachel Zane was the girl from was it the princess, the Duchess of whatever was her name? Meghan Markle. So before she became the Duchess of England or whatever,
Mm.
you know. But anyway, my point is that I love seeing those. I did love seeing this movie. This definitely will be one I'll watch again and again. Now that I feel I don't even remember why I bought it because I never watched it after I bought it, right? I just bought it.
Uh,
And I think I found her for like $5 or something, and I was like, all right, might as well get this, as well or whatever and just bought it, right? like thinking I'll probably watch it someday, and here I am. We had to review it. So I was like, I had to find it in my,
Eh.
I don't have it like, I need to organize well, I have a problem with that. Then I have to keep organizing and keep, keep updating everything. And it's just a pain in the ass. And so I'm just lazy these days of just not wanting to do that. But yeah. Anyway, was there anything else you wanted to mention in this?
Uh, Not right off the top of my head I can think of. No.
Well, I know so we've got two more episodes before we get to 10 episodes for the season. And I think we're going to end it on 10 episodes,
Okay.
right? This season. And so I know what I want to do next. Do you know what it is? Since it's going to be summer coming up, because this will be out in June. So July will be hopefully the next one if we can get another one in, this summer or whatever. Do you know what I want to, guess what would be a perfect summer one to do?
I'm wondering if you're gonna want to do the new Evil Dead movie.
Mm-mm.
Uh,
No, I mean, no. Does that come out this summer?
I thought it was actually coming out this July. I thought.
Was it Evil Dead? What? What's it called? Like Evil Dead Burn. No, that's actually coming out next year.
Oh, is it next year?
Next July.
Ah,
So yeah, it's 2026. They don't got much on it right now, but no, it's gonna be Club Dread.
wait, are they making a remake?
No, I'm
Oh,
saying we're gonna be reviewing Club Dread. By
I
the way, you can't hear it, but he was clapping.
oh yeah. I'm very very happy. I absolutely love the Broken Lizards movies. They are some of my favorites. I own them all.
I'm gonna have to re-listen to my interview with Steve Lemmy that
Oh,
I did because so I was lucky enough to interview him when he was just starting to really like, I mean, he had gone up to like Beer Fest and whatnot. This was 2006 or 7. It might have been
that's
7.
a good one.
Right. And so I interviewed him. This was back when he had a MySpace, and you could just email them there, right? Message them there and stuff. So I hit him up and asked him if he would be so kind to do an interview with me. And he said, sure. And so I think he was expecting me to be just some fan who asked him, like, what was that movie like? And blah, 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 right? So I start like asking about tinfoil monkey agenda and stuff like that. And he was like, how do you know about that? Wow, you did some research on you. And he was like, so we were only planning to talk for like a half hour and it went like I think to 2 hours.
Oh,
It was a pretty long interview, maybe an hour and a half, something like that. But it was longer than he was expecting, And even he told me that he only could talk for whatever, and then I think we only got in the half hour we only got to like Super Troopers,
eh.
and stuff, and he was like, yeah, sure, I could talk for some longer, and we went into Club Dread and we went into Beer Fest and stuff, and I found information out like he drank all that all the beer that they drank in the movie, that was real, is what he said. I don't know if that's fact or not, but like he said they actually did get drunk. He was like, I don't recommend it, but that's what happened. So I don't know.
I
It's
I could definitely see that. Yeah, well, like some would probably call it unpopular opinion. I don't know, but for me, funny enough, Club Dread is actually my favorite in the Broken Lizards bunch of movies too. Uh, don't get me wrong, I love them all, like but
You love
definitely.
them all? Are you sure?
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna follow up with. I mean, I love some as much more as others, but I mean,
You love Quasi?
Quasi was probably on Quasi and Puddle Cruisers were probably on the lower.
Puddle Cruisers. Smack, smack, smack. No, that's like my favorite.
I'm sorry.
I
Yeah.
love that movie. I think it's because my idea is that the first movie you saw is probably from the Broken Lizard. It's probably going to be one of your favorites, and stuff. And I saw I saw was it Puddle Cruiser before I got to see Super Troopers. You know, had I seen Super Troopers first, I think I would have liked that better than Puddle Cruiser. You
Yeah.
know.
I did see Super Troopers first. It's just you know, horror comedies are always my favorite, and I did love Super Troopers a lot. I thought it was great. I was like, oh, so now you guys are going down the horror rabbit hole. Like, well, I'm really interested now, and I loved it. I thought it was great, and they pretty much did. Pretty much like a Friday the 13th, but on an island. And yeah, you I was won over immediately. I'm like, yeah, I just don't think there's any way I'm not going to love this movie unless
Mm.
you pull a House of the Dead, like, like story arc on me in the last minute. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, they didn't really do that. So I'm really excited to talk to you about that.
Oh, I am
It
too.
is it's a fun one. And then we'll have you do the last one of this season, and then we'll take a little bit of a break and we'll be back in the fall, kind of thing. Like closer to like November, I think, and whatnot. But I'm excited about that because when I was like thinking about it, I was like, oh, I um can't wait to do Club Dread, and I know you were a fan of it, so
Oh, big fan.
yep. So there you go. Everybody, we're gonna do Club Dread next month. And please, if you get a chance to buy or watch The Wolfman, I would definitely recommend it. I have a feeling it's not gonna get a 4K release or anything like that, which is really kind of a bummer
It
because
deserves.
it deserves it. But let me see real quick. I always like doing this and seeing what the box office for it was, and stuff, and then seeing what it was, how bad it did in the theaters, sort of
I
thing. So,
theaters.
all right, so it was $150 million movie.
Uh,
See, why do they have to make it that big? Why? It's a horror film, like it shouldn't be $150 million. Like, and it grossed only $139 million.
yeah, no, that's definitely a hit.
Yeah, that's a bomb, but it's okay.
What
Uh,
was Sleepy Hollow? Like, I'd be curious on what their budget was.
Sleepy Hollow. Uh,
See that it was the same director and the same aesthetics and style.
well, it's just not the same director, but same writer.
Or writer, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And it's got the same stick and style, you're right. So that was 100 million. And it grossed 206 million. So uh, doubled its budget, but that's still a mediocre, hit. Like it wasn't like 500 million, or
Yeah.
something,
But
like, but
maybe
I think
rule of
what,
thumb of like whatever the budget is, double it for advertising and all
mhm.
that, and ad spaces and stuff like that. So more likely, yeah, it probably only grossed about maybe 6, 7 million. But also, when you do those same terms with the Wolfman, then that was a horrendous hit. Then that was they probably took about 125K hit there.
All right, so The Wolfman was number 2 in the box office on the first day, opening day on that Friday. You know what was number 1?
What?
Valentine's Day, because they opened on Valentine's Day, or like a couple days before Valentine's Day, like Valentine's Day weekend they opened.
And didn't that movie end up getting panned too?
The Valentine's Day movie?
Yeah,
I think so.
the one that had that big roster cast. Or are you talking about Valentine, like the slasher?
I'm not talking about the slasher. I'm talking about
The
the
com
romantic comedy with all the different people in it and
Yeah,
stuff.
well, that ended up getting panned by the critics. Maybe
Well, what was that?
I said I thought that one ended up getting panned by the critics. You got called yet again another one of those tragedies of big giant lineup of cast, but just mediocre movie.
Well, and this is what I think. If you generally want your movie to die, horror movie to die, do
Mm.
it in January or February. Because like nobody's looking for horror films then. and stuff. Now, there are exceptions, like Upgrade did very well in that time period. Megan did very well in that time period.
I think Hard Eyes
Um,
good too.
which one?
Hard Eyes.
Hard Eyes did very well. Companion did very well. There were movies that did very well around then. But generally speaking, like a lot of horror films die in that time period because like people aren't really, horror fans aren't really looking, I don't think, for films that are in that time period. They want stuff in the fall, you know.
Mhm.
That's when or not even just horror fans, but like so that the horror fans will watch a horror film anytime. But like normal moviegoers, they only really want to be spooked out during like sometimes the summer, but most of the time the fall, because it comes to around Halloween time, you know. And so movies that do very well are usually put in the fall time, like for horror films, you know, because people are like, "Ooh, that movie's coming out in October. That sounds cool," right? So but number three was Percy Jackson and Olympians, the Lightning Thief.
Uh,
Um, Number four is Avatar, and that was in its second week. Um, Dear John was fifth, and that was in its third week. The Tooth Fairy was
uh,
in its eighth week. That's the Rock movie, I think, right? The Rock where he's the Tooth
yeah.
Fairy. From Paris with Love was number seven. That was in its fourth week. And its fifth week is Edge of Darkness. Was that? Yeah, Mel Gibson movie. Um, number eight, number nine was Crazy Heart. And I forgot who was in that. It was somebody famous. I don't know. Anyway, and then number 10 was When in Rome.
Yeah.
So like a bunch of these movies just hey, but at least Wolfman was number two. It just didn't catch on, I guess. People saw the trailer and were like, this looks like old, like it's old, you know? And stuff. That'd be my guess, you know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they weren't in that because I mean it does give off a bit of that gothic aesthetic to a degree, and maybe just that wasn't the mood setting for that time for a lot of people. They weren't in the mood for that kind of movie. Versus when Sleepy Hollow came out, people were more like, hey, like this is kind of that cool old gothic scenery and stuff. Because there was definitely a heyday for it earlier on and stuff because like even Burton's stuff was selling like hotcakes, like and most of his stuff generally hit those marks.
Right.
I mean, heck, even his Batman movies hit that mark.
I need to rewatch Sleepy Hollow. I know there also is the TV show Sleepy Hollow
Hmm.
and stuff. And I've never been to Sleepy Hollow. There's the Sleepy Hollow Bridge, and stuff. I need to go over there and cross the Bridge of Souls, where all that stuff. So I love the Sleepy Hollow, and if they remade it, I'd be happy. Um, and I honestly think Tim Burton would have been a great director for this movie, but it would have been a different. I think it would have been a different movie.
I agree. I do have concerns. I don't think we would have had the gory graphic scenes, and we probably wouldn't have gotten Rick Baker either. And Rick Baker was definitely, in my opinion, a key opponent into what made this movie so good. Like I said, the sheer fact that we got a really good gory with good graphic, good gory, well showing kills too. A lot of times I like that it lacks in a lot of those kind of style movies. Like they always do the cutaway scenes, or they just do like you see the hand swipe and then you see someone fall down, like with
Yeah,
this on them. And there's nothing wrong with that. I understand we're all confined to budgets and time restraints, etc. Especially for effects. Being effects take freaking forever. Uh,
mm,
it's probably one of the most longest things like in the film process, especially with horror films, are doing the effects. But uh, but that's what I think I liked about this movie is like it didn't shy away from that because I know that's kind of like Rick Baker's style and stuff, and a few other the werewolf movies have done that before too, where they don't really shy away from it all that much. I remember Silver Bullet actually didn't really do much shying away either, and I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, when you're making an indie, like 50K to 100K werewolf movie, you're
Hmm.
gonna shy away from it. But when you're making $150 million movie, you better have some pretty cool like makeup stuff for it and everything.
Exactly.
I was disappointed to hear the what is it the budget because I mean I remember the Mummy being like overbloated on budget too, right? Like that was how many, like 250 million to 300 million dollar budget. Oh, that's only 125 million. What? That was cheaper?
Oh,
Holy, the Mummy.
the one was cheaper than the Wolfman.
The Tom Cruise Mummy was cheaper in budget than the Wolfman. The hell?
Well, we
Really?
know Anthony Hopkins. Well, actually, in all fairness, cast roster, there were a lot of bigger names and Wolfman, I would say, than the Mummy.
Then why did it bomb in the theater? Um, because it didn't bomb. It like made a $400 million.
Oh, what the Mummy did?
Yeah. So why did people say it bombed and why did they say like I don't think that's a bomb at all. Like,
Uh, Well, I guess it's not a bomb as far as success goes, but it's a bomb as far as after watching it, fan reception was not good. Like, and they're like, yeah, we're just gonna walk away from this with the W while we got it. And they probably saw the writing on the wall. If we made a sequel, maybe it won't do as well. Because I mean, if it did well, they wouldn't be coming out with another new reboot of it right now. They would have
right.
kept on the gravy train.
Well, they were going to. They had like plans like Russell Crowe was Henry Jekyll. They were gonna do a Jekyll Hyde movie.
Uh,
They were gonna Johnny Depp was gonna play the Wolfman, I think, or something. Like or one of those kind of characters.
probably have done a very good Dr. Jekyll, I have to admit.
What? Who?
Oh, Russell Crowe.
Yeah, he was in The Mummy.
Yeah, he would have probably done a pretty good Dr. Jekyll.
Yeah, I mean he was Dr. Jekyll, but he wasn't Mr. Hyde.
Yeah,
They didn't he was just there helping Tom Cruise's character out, with the stuff. I think the biggest mistake they made was going with the Mummy. The Mummy is not the perfect first starter of a dark universe. Like I think they should have started with Dracula or Frankenstein or somebody.
yeah. I think I'm with you on the very first one. I think you gotta have to when you got to go with OG and stuff. I think you have to probably go with. I probably would have started with Dracula. I would have then gone to Frankenstein. Then I would have done Wolfman. And then I would have probably have done probably I would have done Creature, and then I would have done Jekyll and Hyde, and then Invisible Man. And then probably I would have done Bride, but Bride I would have tweaked a lot.
Yeah.
Bride I would take completely a different direction. Instead of it being like the tormented woman that's now in love with the monster, like I would actually make her own monster.
Right. You know, Bride of Frankenstein. I don't know. I think they are doing a Bride of Frankenstein movie. Yeah, David Coep, who wrote Jurassic Park and Spider-Man and Stir of Echoes, the original Mission Impossible. He's writing a Bride of Frankenstein movie, or he wrote one. I don't know. So,
I'd be down for it. I would definitely give it a new rewrite and give it a new origin too, and everything. To be honest, I'd actually be thinking that maybe like it would be a woman who was accused of being a witch in a town and stuff, and a bunch of the villagers got together and they drawed and quartered her. And stuff, and like it turned out that she was actually in love with a scientist who will be in Frankenstein.
yeah, that would be cool.
Yep, and he actually would take all of her remains and sew her back together and rejuvenate her back to life to make her the bride. And then she seeks out revenge on those that did this to her.
Nice. That's a badass idea.
Oh, thanks, man.
You know, but anyway, let's I guess let's wrap it up. Everybody, I hope we can be back in July and August to finish up the season, but we'll see. I mean, depends on how busy we are this year, and everything. I was very happy we were able to get this done, and I can't wait for you guys to kind of see what else what else we got in store. We got a lot of great stuff coming up. So I know you're busy, you know.
Oh yeah, but I always love doing this, and especially now that you chose Club Dread for our next one, it's like, yeah, I'll definitely make time to talk about this sucker.
I know because that means you get to watch it again, you
Oh yeah,
know.
I guarantee my wife will definitely be hanging out with me. She is definitely a big fan of the Club Dread movies,
Nice.
or I mean the Brooklyn Lizard movies.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome. Well, everybody, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Join us next month for a brand new episode. Until then, everybody, have a good one.
Uh,
Bye.